What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another video, and welcome to your stimulus package update and daily news report for Monday, February 28th. Yes, it is the final day of February. Now today I have an IRS announcement that I want to bring to your attention. I know a lot of people are asking, where is their federal tax return? So I want to bring that to you right now. We're also going to go over the Democrats' huge worry. They have a huge worry right now, and I think we can all kind of agree that what they are worried about is actually happening. We know that the war, not really war, but the invasion of Ukraine from Russia, that's actually taking some major turns. So we will address that in some daily news as well towards the end of this video. If you have any questions on any of this stuff, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. Now, one thing I just want to ask, if you enjoy these daily uploads, can you do me a favor? Go ahead and hit that like button. But let's get right into the update. First, I want to start with the IRS announcement, because the IRS has stated that they are processing 2021 federal tax returns, but they're doing the best they can. The issue is they are going to see many delays over the next few months. Now, many people have taken to some online platforms to show their frustrations with the IRS. And the reason is because, and it's actually really simple, but what you need to understand is that many people haven't received their federal income taxes simply because the IRS wasn't able to process any returns that had either the child tax credit payment request or the earned income tax credit request either. And the reason is because they delay these a little bit for potential fraud. So the IRS has made it very clear that people who have requested either the child tax credit payments or the earned income tax credit, they should be receiving their federal income tax returns by March 1st. That's tomorrow. Okay? So big news. If you haven't received your federal income tax return yet, this could be coming to you tomorrow. All right? So just be prepared. Now, I want to address where Democrats stand at this point, because here's what we're hearing. Currently, many are worried that President Biden and the White House, they aren't looking at the midterm elections, and they're too focused on the here and now. Some are actually extremely worried that President Biden's lack of focus will actually cost them their seats and any chance of holding on to control in both the House and the Senate. Here's the reason why this is so important. If Democrats lose control of the House and the Senate, what will most likely happen is Republicans will try to pass a Republican agenda. Here's the reason this is an issue for a Democratic president. If Republicans pass a Republican agenda in both the House and the Senate, send it over to President Biden's desk, and President Biden says, no, I am not going to sign on that. I'm going to veto this bill. Guess what? If this happens multiple times over the next 2 years, and then the American people are looking at, the Congress and the president and thinking, well, how come they can't get anything done? The Congress keeps on passing all these bills, but the president keeps on vetoing these. Why? Guess what? The likelihood of removing that president and putting somebody else in is much higher. So that's Democrats' worry, is if they lose the majority in the House and the Senate in this upcoming midterm election, this could easily bring back former President Donald Trump or another pick from the Republican Party. So do you see why this is such a big issue? And it starts now. We're not starting in 2024 when the new presidential elections will conclude. No, it starts now. So I bring this up because last week we heard a large group of House Democrats. They were putting together a list of standalone bills that had bipartisan support that would be easy to get passed. But at the same time, multiple senators stated that they didn't have the support to pass a list of 70 plus standalone bills, many of which were pulled directly from the Build Back Better Act and didn't see any changes. So here's the reason why this is extremely important as well. What we are seeing are two different sides, two different groups of Democrats. We got some that are just trying to pass the Build Back Better Act, will do whatever they can to get that through. If they have to change the way it's voted on, they'll change the way it's voted on. If they have to mix and match the different pieces to get them to pretty much put together like in a little puzzle and propose these, they're going to do that. Then you got others, more moderates, that want to see bipartisanship. And then you got Republicans who don't want to see anything from the Build Back Better Act because they say it's just going to increase inflation, it's going to add to our national deficit, it's not really going to help the American people. Here's where stimulus comes in. Republicans are open to some form of stimulus. Not to just the economy, but to the hardest hit individuals. And it has to be the hardest hit individuals. Okay? Not people making $250,000 a year. People making less than $50,000 a year. Families making less than $50,000 a year. Those are the ones that are hardest hit. Lower income earners. That's who they're willing to help because they say that is who needs the help. They don't want to provide additional funding to a group that isn't even going to use the money. Put it into a business that's seeing so much growth. Somebody's going to put it in the stock market. Why? Why would we do that? That's what they're asking. Why would we just give money away? Let's give it away to the people that deserve the money. And when they talk about deserve the money, they are referring to people that are working and contributing to the economy. Now, I know what many people are going to say. Well, what if you can't work? That's the issue. That's where Democrats are saying, well, what about those that can't work? What about those that are elderly? What about those that are elderly and taking care of children? And yet you guys want to pass a child tax credit payment for people that are lower income earners, but those that are working? Well, what if you're elderly taking care of a child that isn't even yours? What then? Why don't this group of people, why don't they receive any additional funding and help? That's the issue. Is Republicans are asking you just have to have a work requirement. But Democrats are saying, well, we can't do that because we got this whole group of people that don't fall under that work requirement, but yet they should be receiving some funds. Simple. If you're over a certain age, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. You should still get the money, right? If you're taking care of a child. And that's the issue is, well, who's right? Is it going to be the Republican Party or the Democratic Party? We don't know. All moderates are asking for is, let's have bipartisanship. That's it. So, while many Democrats push President Biden for more support, there are others that are doing the exact opposite of what Democrats have pretty much pleaded for, which is to put together bills that will get bipartisan support and could pass the filibuster. Because that's the key. If we have 70 plus standalone bills, and yet Democrats only have a few budget resolutions, how do we get 70 plus bills done and passed? Can't. So how do you pick just 3? That's the impossible thing, is you can't. Now, being we're only 8 months away from the midterm elections, what I can tell you is that moderate Democrats understand that Republicans aren't going to break. They want to continue to stand strong on their wants and demands. And unless Democrats really give in to some of their demands, Republicans aren't going to in any way break. There's not going to be any single Republican that will support a Democratic proposal. And that's exactly what we've seen over the past few months. Actually, over the past 6 months. Right? Republicans have stood strong. And even some Democrats have voted against their own bills, like Senator Joe Manchin and Senator Kyrsten Sinema. But what does this mean to you and me? Here's what this means. It means unless we see more bipartisanship, we might not see any significant bills. None. And that's the struggling thing. That's what's so tough is we need additional help. We need additional assistance. We need to be more competitive to the rest of the world. But how do we do that? Bipartisanship. That's exactly what President Biden spoke about. That he was going to bring the two sides together. Hasn't actually been done. So we'll see. Now this week is when it will all start. Congress returns this week. Their goal is actually quite simple for now. They plan on passing legislation that will provide Ukraine with additional funding. They will also be working on the initial steps to confirm the Supreme Court nominee. Those are the two things that they're going to do. Everything else, really up for debate. Now, President Biden, he does have his State of the Union address. It's tomorrow, okay, Tuesday, March 1st. It will be at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Now, he was expected to address his vision for the next year, talk about everything, the good things that has happened because of his administration. Well, he's essentially pivoted. His address now will be mostly on the Russian invasion into Ukraine. He obviously is going to still talk about his upcoming vision and, tout the progress and stuff that has happened over the past year. That's the expectation. But it's going to be interesting to see if anything new comes out of this address. At this time, many aren't expecting any surprises. It will just be the same stuff that we've really seen. So, I promise I don't think I'll do an update right after that unless we got some breaking news, but we will see. I will be watching that, as I always do, and I'll let you know what goes on there. And no, I don't think we are going to hear anything new, any surprising news, any breaking news. I don't think we're going to see hear about any new relief coming. Could it happen? Maybe. I don't see it. As of right now, okay, the only relief is coming from states. That's it. If you want any relief, hopefully you live in a state that for one has a surplus of cash and is willing to give it back to the American people. Now, as of today, one additional state is doing something new. That is in Tennessee. Parents will be sent additional pandemic EBT payments in the beginning of March. Should come out about March 4th. This new payment is actually due to the fact that Tennessee has been approved for retroactive food assistance for children who previously weren't eligible for school year 2021 to 2022 pandemic EBT. Now, these payments will vary person to person, but just understand these pandemic EBT benefits, these will still help quite a bit. Now, more states are still applying for the school year 2021-2022 benefits, and I promise I haven't done a pandemic EBT video for probably a couple of weeks, so I will do a new one very soon because as we're coming into a new month, there will be new approvals as well. So I will address that as we get closer. Well, closer is tomorrow. So I will address that probably in the next couple of days. Okay, let's also get into what is happening over in Russia and Ukraine, because we saw some major stuff happen this morning. Ukraine has actually demanded a ceasefire as talks with Russia has begun. Ukraine has actually stated that a number of refugees that have left the country is right around or more than 500,000 people this morning. Okay, many of the financial sanctions that were imposed on Russia really hit Russia and impacted their financial markets. Russia's central bank just this morning had to double their interest rates from 9.5 to 20%. Now, you're probably thinking, well, what does this mean? This means, and the purpose behind this is actually pretty simple. The goal was to prevent a run on the banks of citizens trying to pull their money out. Because remember, when interest rates are higher, right, and you leave your money in the bank, now it's getting 20%. That's insane, right? Here in the US, we get we don't even get 1% of any of our money. But in Russia, they had to put interest rates at 20% just to prevent people from running to the bank and pulling their money out, right? If you can make 20% on your money in a year, that's insane. And just so that you know, the ruble lost roughly 20% of its value. It's trading at $100 to $1 as of this morning. Previously, earlier, it was as much as 40% down. Okay, so it is coming back a little bit, but not much. Russia has also spent about 8 years trying to build up their war chest of roughly $630 billion as well. But due to the current financial sanctions, much of their war chest has pretty much been frozen. And now Russia's economy is really under fire. Now all this is happening because Russian President Vladimir Putin, he's preparing to go nuclear. Okay? Troops were also attempting to take over Kiev. And now Russia seems to be almost outgunned. And here's the issue. Just to give you an idea of what's going on, here's the issue. Russia is not going to back down. Russia wants to get something out of this. Okay? But what do they do now? Do they try to team up with China? Probably not. That's probably not going to work here. Do they go nuclear? They could, but that's not seen as the best move because of the Western allies. So that's the issue. What does Russia do now? They can't just back out, because that will make them look weak. Russia does not want to look weak. Right now, the other issue is they can't take over major cities because, well, they are looking weak. Their army, their troops are looking fairly weak. That's the other issue, is they are currently looking weak. If they pull out, they will look extremely weak. But if they stay there and they can't take over anything else, well, they would look weak anyway. So how do we move forward? This is the issue. Nobody knows, but everybody is worried of what could potentially come. So one thing I just want to say is that right now, all eyes, not just in Russia and Ukraine, but all eyes from around the world are looking at Russia and Ukraine. What's going to happen there? We're seeing prices skyrocket. Wheat, corn, soy, gas, energy, right? Palladium, nickel, right? Titanium, everything, aluminum, everything is getting more expensive. This is turning into a world crisis. So a lot of people say, oh, what's going on in Russia and what's going on in Ukraine isn't going to impact us over here. I've been telling you this for about 2 weeks. It could, and it will, and it is. So as I know more, I promise I'll come back on, share all latest news and updates. Just want to thank you guys for watching. Have a wonderful rest of your Monday. Consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.